All right, Grayson,
Urban,
we're back.
hello. Oh yeah. Oh
We're
yeah.
back.
Back and better than ever.
Uh, we launched your workshop.
Yes.
It was very successful. And when I started doing the marketing for it, I posted a few clips on my socials and especially on Twitter slash X.
hmm
They got a lot of views, like hundreds of thousands of views, right?
Yeah.
Most of them, like 95% are positive. They're like, oh, this is awesome. We should make games like this. Where is this?
hmm
Why isn't the gaming industry using this? This is amazing. But then you have 5% of people who have a different opinion on this, right?
Sure.
You kind of open the floodgates to other people's thought process. And a lot of them were saying, oh, I see the frame dropping. This is not usable. Why are you showing this?
hmm
And I was like, I remember I said to one guy, I was like, it's just a demo. Don't be so harsh on me, right? And he was like, no,
Yeah.
actually, we should be very harsh on you. Because I
Oh
was
my
like, what?
gosh. Yeah.
Why are you,
Full
why are you so
comeback.
mean? Yeah. Anyway, I thought we would take the opportunity to kind of discuss the optimization, what goes into it, how you would approach optimization, and then how you would go from something like this, which is like just a high quality demo, right, that you
hmm
teach in the workshop, and then what would have to change to for this to actually be used in a AAA game.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think this will be a really fun chat we're gonna have. I think, well, of course, let's just start by showing the clip here, maybe, and then we'll play around with it in
Yeah.
game. We'll talk about optimization techniques, what it's done right, what's done wrong, all that fun stuff. So, just to start here, a quick little video. It's just a nice little crumble demo that I have of this piece here. We'll just let it play through for a minute and talk about how we did that, of course. You get the idea, though. Then I had the shooting of it, which I went into this project just thinking, how can I make this look cool, and what sort of thing would I love to see in a video game, right? Like, what would be fun to do? So that was sort of the goal I was heading out to achieve with this clip here. Just make it look and feel as fun as possible. And there's a lot of work that goes into just doing that, but the thing that we don't talk too much about is how much more work it takes to optimize something like this to be usable in a game. So we can go ahead and play with it here for a little bit just to show it all working in real time. You can see we've got some pretty good stuff going down here. I've trimmed down the level a little bit to get some better frame rate out of it for this live playback here. But let's talk about what's expensive and what can be trimmed down. First off, the most expensive thing, which you'll notice a difference between that and this playback here, is there is no VDB volume that I'm using like I'm using in this clip here. Right, so we have this big, awesome explosion. And for this playback here, while we have all these other stuff running at the same time, I've just disabled that explosion, which is a VDB rendered in Houdini and then sent over to Unreal with Zebra AI VDB compression. So that on itself could already be a big optimization. It's just having that in there slows it down so much. But if we just either trim down the quality of the compression or use cards instead of VDB for the explosion, that immediately makes it 10 times more performant. VDBs are really cool, but it's very hard to justify their use in games in the current state that they're in. But we're definitely getting there with stuff like Zebra AI. So yeah, I think that's going to be a big one to start with. The other biggest thing that hurts me as an artist with Unreal is there's not a lot of control over the individual pieces of the destruction like I might hope for when working in a AAA environment. So what Unreal is doing, or at least what they have, is a really nice plug and play package with the chaos physics system. So you can really easily fracture an object and it just works. Like you can set up a destructible asset in 10 minutes. Whereas when I'm doing something at work, it can take anywhere from an hour to a full day. But the trade-off there is I have control over every single piece and I can code when stuff breaks, if it disappears, all of that fun stuff. So like an example of that, which we can also look at in some AAA example footage, would be you are able to remove pieces when you build a custom engine on break, which is what a lot of games will do. Like if I can find some good footage here, hopefully not get an ad or anything. We'll show off something from the finals here. This has a bunch of really cool gameplay in it. But a big thing that you'll see in any AAA game, assuming this loads, is when stuff breaks, you just immediately can remove pieces and replace them with effects. And so that on its own is going to trim you down 90, 80% of the cost, because all the expense comes from the rigid bodies themselves, the actual pieces of your explosion. So like if I break out this fracture here, and explode it, you can see this pillar alone is 500 pieces, maybe a little more. And something like that you'll see in game is if you have this many on whenever an area of it breaks, you're going to immediately remove 80% of those and replace them with effects. If you're going to do something like this in Unreal, you're kind of limited to like maybe you make your whole destruction piece 80 pieces. And I haven't found a way around that, which is unfortunate. So the best workaround is just making the 80 pieces you have looking really good. Otherwise, you have to start getting into like C++ to actually lower or have control over each individual piece of your destruction.
Yeah. Well, would it be possible when you're optimizing this? Because right now you have a prefactor geometry that has, the 80 pieces, they're already there and they're always kind of there, just, waiting to be destroyed. Would it be possible that you swap them? So right now, when the object is not destroyed, it's literally one mesh. It doesn't have the pieces yet. But once you hit a certain area, that turns into a destructible piece. You know what I mean? Like, so you almost have, or at least you would have like very low res proxies. And then once it gets hit, it kind of switches to an actual like chunk. So just so the pieces are not always there, but you kind of in real time you swap them.
Yeah, so that's, I wish that this would all load for me, but that's another really great optimization we can make that you'll actually see in a lot of AAA games. I just wanted to show this off here, but yeah, basically you start with, a static object. Okay. Like you can see here, which is also much more performant for lighting purposes because it doesn't have to calculate the inside faces when it's doing lighting stuff. So just having this on its own with lighting is already a big thing, but then also having those rigid bodies not existing in the world until the break and spawning them in after is another really big part of it.
Yeah.
I was hoping to show it off here, but you can see like what they'll do in Battlefield that they do really well and hide with a lot of overlay of effects is you'll have your unfractured building here. And then whenever there's an explosion, anything within that radius is going to, swap to the pre-broken state of it and start simulating on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can see they do such a good job at it because they that's another thing, right? Is just how well can you hide the trickery that you're doing for explosion behind effects and other stuff. Like let's go frame by frame through this here, for example. I really like this clip because it looks awesome. Like Battlefield is one of the best games when you're looking at destruction. But you can see when this part right here breaks, they swap to their pre-broken and damaged pieces here. So like they're already rounded and like crumbly a little bit and they have vertex painting for where the damage is happening. And so this little optimization here looks pretty good. You can cover it maybe with a little more effects, but it's going to take you a long way because something like this house or that wall there was maybe at most 100 pieces. And then they're killing more as they hit the ground and replacing it with particles. So all of that fine-grained control is what you kind of need to get that high level of optimization.
Yeah, and the small pieces are not actually RBD chunks with physics. They're literally particles that have instance particles that have instant geometry on them, right?
Right.
They're not actually, reacting
so they're
properly. They're just like points.
Exactly, which is going to be way cheaper than the minimum of 16 to 100 points that you need to simulate a rigid body, right? And so you can see I have a
Yeah.
bunch of small grain uh, Niagara particles in this destruction here as well, which really helps to fill it out without adding too much cost to it. Yeah. And then, of course, all of this stuff is covered how to make in the workshop. And then the point of this was mainly just to talk about, what are the things we can do to further optimize this and how do you make this into a game? Yeah. So we're here in a test level as well. This is from week 4 of the course. You can see I just have a bunch of objects here. This comically large traffic stand. We have some like this bridge here, which is just a simple setup, but you can see we have the particles on them. And then we have 2 different sort of ideologies for how you might go about fracturing and breaking a box. You can go through the default chaos package in Unreal and fracture everything through there, or you can take a much more fine-grained approach with a Houdini fracture. I guess this actually isn't set up here, but we go through both fracturing methods and like the pros and cons of everything in the workshop as well. And the power that you might have with Houdini is like how much more optimized you can make all of your pieces, because you can very easily create a tool that merges all of your small parts together. If you're working at a studio that's very technologically progressive, I would say, you could do something where you tag different pieces of that destructible asset to be disappeared on break. Which is just a lot of extra control that you'll get out of Houdini versus in Unreal at the price of time.
Sweet.
Yeah. Otherwise, some other stuff we can look at here. I mean, the finals, one of my favorite games for destruction, although I think a lot of the same things kind of happen here that you might see in like Battlefield, where they're just swapping out the mesh for a much lower poly particle placement of them. And then the thing that Finals does that's really impressive is their multiplayer ability to actually simulate all of this for 100 or 50 players all at once. All of the physics, I believe, is done on the server side rather than on the CPU side, which saves all of the users a bunch of performance. So that's really cool. Another one we have is going to be the Gears of War here that we could talk about, just some of the struggles of optimizing. I believe this is something Urban here worked on a while ago.
Sure,
so I
yeah.
thought we might talk about
Yeah,
this piece as well.
Yeah, it was it's not even that visible, but it's like the breaking of the ice that falls down, and that was a Houdini sim. So this was, believe it or not, we were using Unreal Engine 3.
Oh, yeah.
With,
Unreal 3, yes.
we're not even, yeah, it wasn't even Unreal 4, but we actually had a weird mixed version of 3 and 4 because it's Gears of War, so we could, it's Epic, I think, owns it. So we just had like a weird engine that had all the good stuff from 4 in 3. It was it was very weird.
Yeah.
Essentially, yeah, the sim was done in Houdini, and when I started doing the sim, they told me, just, go easy on how many pieces you're going to simulate. And I simulated 4,000 pieces, which is nothing for a proper Houdini destruction sim, right? And I was like, this is going to look like ass. There's not enough pieces. Like, if you really want to get the crumble and the dust, like, because I was coming from AAA game cinematics where everything is pre-rendered, so that was my mindset. And they were like, 4,000 pieces. Actually, the limit is 150. I was like, but it looks like garbage with 4,000. How are we gonna do 150? Anyway,
insane. Yeah.
The guy I was working with, Spike, he kind of developed a lot of these optimization things in Houdini where, you know, you would check, is that piece actually going to get broken anytime in the future? And if it's not, just clump them together and delete everything that's inside. So you wouldn't have 15 pieces in a chunk, but it would just be one piece, right? And these were all post-sim optimization kind of things that we did in Houdini, and then exported Alembics and things like that to Unreal. But then in Unreal, to actually make it look good, you then have to spawn, like Grayson was saying, a lot of cards, fake particle kind of proxies with pieces attached to them, and just a lot of cards that kind of mimic dust and debris to fill in the gaps, because you only have 150, just like literally big chunks falling down. Like the Houdini sim looked like garbage, but then you have to do so many tricks in engine to make it look good. And then, for instance, the crack in this case, that's just like a texture. It's like very cool material that gets like activated. It's not actually geometry as far as I remember. And then I also did the cameras on this scene, which was kind of funny because I didn't like how the effects were looking with the cameras they had. So I started changing the cameras so the effects would look better. And then they were like, "Oh, this actually looks pretty good. Can you actually do the cameras for the game?"
Nice.
And then after that, they also asked me a bit to kind of advise on other cameras as well for other sequences, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, this is just one of the sequences we worked on. We did a lot of quite a bit. I don't remember how many. And then we also did quite a bit of explosions for, like you create an explosion pack and like looping smoke packs and things like that were used throughout the game and in like actual gameplay.
Yeah, I mean, we got 2 hours of cutscenes here, so I'm sure you guys had your fair share of
it
work.
was a lot.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It was. And the thing here was that they were all playing in real time. They're not pre-rendered. So these are actually, it's real-time cutscenes. And that's why we couldn't do, 20,000 pieces. Because if they were just pre-rendered, this would literally just be like your typical AAA cinematic type workflow. But because it's real-time, you can't. So we had to do a lot of optimization on the Houdini side and then in Unreal.
There's a big difference for sure. Yeah, something else I kind of just want to say I think that's interesting is when looking at like optimization for games and game dev in general, a lot of people I think don't realize that like the optimization part is also as progressive as creating the game is. So like when you're first starting the game, it can be completely unoptimized. You might be running at 15 frames a second all the way up until like a month before shipping the game. And that's when everything finally comes together and all of the rendering and programming and lighting and everything starts working in unison. And that's when you start to finally get that smooth 60 frames a second. And game dev in general, like at least from my experience, like it's going to be very frame hitched until the final days of production. So I just think that's something kind of interesting. And then on top of that, something worth noting is running it in engine is actually a little bit slower than running like the packaged version of it because you have all of these debug tools and all of this extra stuff taking up your memory. Like even running the debug version of a game is going to run slower than the final shipped version of it. So there's just like a ton of factors that go into making something like this production ready.
Yep. Yes, sir. So let's say if you were doing this for in the studio, like for an actual game, what would be different? Like how would you approach this differently, or what would you do?
Yeah.
I know Naughty Dog they have their own engine, right, and everything, so it's different than Unreal, but I guess the methodology and logic is the same.
Exactly. Yeah, so it's going to be different means to the same end. basically the big things you're going to see are, one, the effect team would be turning this explosion here into a cart. First off, we just can't afford VDBs yet. There's probably going to be a time when we can, but that's going to be a big one. Another big piece is going to be, you need to have pieces disappear on break. Like, you just can't afford to have 500 pieces constantly colliding with each other every frame and expect 60 frames per second. So removing stuff on break is a really big one that I have not found a good solution for in Unreal without diving into C++. But most engines, I believe, should have some sort of feature for this. The best Unreal has is like killing something after it stops moving, which is useful, but it's sometimes not enough in like this scenario. A third thing I might do, we have the particles replacing stuff, but you also will likely only make part of the asset destructible. Like, it's pretty rare in games that like the entire wall segment here is going to be destructible. Like, what you might have is the area the player needs to get through. So we'll make this center section here destructible, and the walls are always going to stay static, so you have this like cool silhouette tunnel out of it. And so that already lets you have more pieces. And I think the final one that I really like doing is, if you have like a really like thick object, like a cylindrical object or like a statue of sorts, you can basically just delete all of the inside destruction pieces in it. And then you can't really tell the difference on break, but that's going to save you like 80% of the volume of pieces that you have. If that makes sense. You can't really do it on like thinner objects like this because you don't have multiple layers of pieces inside, but if you can just remove those before the destruction even happens, it already saves a ton. So it's really all about getting your pieces down, keeping them low and having them destroy, and then how much can you hide with effects, or even force with the camera position of stuff so that you can't see it from every angle.
Yep.
But yeah,
smoke
I think
and
those
mirrors.
are the big things. Yes, smoke and mirrors with emphasis on smoke. Yeah.
So I guess as we're kind of restricted by technology as well, right? So like when Epic needs to optimize this even more in Unreal, and as our hardware gets better and better, this eventually will all be possible. But for now, we do still have some restrictions that unless you create something super custom and you code your own optimization kind of pipelines and workflows, which you can in Houdini, and we did. But in Unreal, like Grayson said, you need to use some C++ or some high-end trickery. Like, you need a proper FXTD to create optimization pipelines in Unreal that would be completely custom.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, what Unreal has is really great for, again, quick setups and stuff. And, you can very easily do this pillar destruction with a tenth of as many pieces, and it'll look okay. It'll look, pretty good. But when you want the cinematic level of destruction, you have to make sacrifices, whether that's a bunch of tech investment or frame rate, or just doing this for non-real-time demos.
Exactly. Yeah.
But
so
yes, there's
like
a future
kind
where
of
this
to
is doable.
reiterate. Yeah, exactly. Just to kind of reiterate for people taking the workshop, like, Grayson is showing you kind of high quality destruction that looks good. Then if you need to use this for your game, you will have to optimize it even more. But here, like, the goal was to just make it look very good and very pretty looking. If you're using it for a pre-rendered cinematic, it's all good, it's gonna work. But if you're actually then using it in a game, you will need to think about some optimization as you go. But at least you learn. You're gonna learn all of it, and then you can pick and choose what actually fits in your game.
Yes, and I'd say to add on to that, if the goal is to make this for a game, you will need further optimizations. If the goal is to make a portfolio to get hired at a job, I don't think they're going to be too worried about optimizations. Like, to an extent, yes, optimization is
exactly
attractive per se, but what people are looking for is taste. And if you can show what good destruction looks like, you can scale it back for optimizations later. So the goal here is high-end looks, and then scale back as needed to ship it.
100%. 100% agree.
Yeah, and this might even be how you do it in studio production too. Like sometimes what we do is, I'll make the highest looking asset possible and it'll be very unoptimized, and maybe a programmer will look at it and say, this is terrible, I don't like this, but I'll see what I can do to make this work. And then you can kind of meet in the middle and get this super cool heavy asset in game with some programming tricks behind the scene. But you have to create the good looking stuff before you can even get to that bridge that needs to be crossed.
100%. I was doing the same on Gears. I was just making it look good, and then people started yelling at me, and I was like, well, at least we know it looks good now, and we can talk about optimizing this later.
Yes.
And we had people that were almost like dedicated people, more FXCDs, who were there to help us optimize things and create new workflows.
Yes.
So yeah, don't worry about it too much.
Yeah, it is some people's entire jobs to optimize down your beautiful artwork. Yeah, so there's a lot that goes into it.
Yep.
Yeah. I think we've covered most of the things here, unless you think I'm missing any notes we want to go over.
No, I think that's it.
Yeah.
I think that's it. That's kind of like what we wanted to address with some of the comments we got in regards to optimization. And I do agree, it is very important, especially if you're actually doing like a proper game. It is important, but
of course.
Yeah, we're just trying to show you how to make it look pretty first and then optimize second.
Yes.
But it depends per use case so much that, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. The optimization is always possible, but the pretty looking part is that's the part that matters the most, especially as an artist. It's going to be what's the most impressive part of it, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. Sweet.
Yeah.
Cool, man. I think that's it. Can you stop sharing your screen?
Yeah.
It's because for some reason it's lagging hard on my side when you share your screen.
Oh, I see. Too many effects.
Let's see. It's much better now. Yeah,
Okay,
dude. Because on my side, if you would see how I was hearing you this whole time, it was like a staccato effect.
I was wondering. Oh my gosh. Damn. I wonder why.
Yeah, it was horrible. Yeah, it's fine. But yeah, just don't leave this room when we stop recording, just so everything uploads on your side as well.
Sure.
But yeah, dude, I think that was it. Like I said, the workshop super well received. Everybody so far loves it. There's people in the chat already making there's a few guys who are already on week 3, and they were like
awesome.
they're speed running through everything. Yeah,
I know.
It's so awesome.
I'm
to
like,
see.
how are you guys doing that? You guys must be just powering through. It's really cool to see. Yeah, I'm really glad it's done so well so far.
Yeah.
Hopefully this clears some things up for some people too.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks, Grayson, for your time, and we'll chat soon.
Yeah, of course. Thank you too, Urban.
All right. Cheers. Bye.
All right. Bye.